Hey everyone, my name is Wedge. Commander 2017 is right around the corner, so for the next few videos we're going to go over each tribal deck, talk strategy, how the decks are built, and focus on upgrades for when you inevitably get your Commander 2017 decks, and you want to make them even better. I do hope you enjoy these videos, and if you do, remember to hit that like button, helps out a lot. In this video, we'll be focusing on Draconic Domination. The UrDragon is the undisputed leader of this deck. 4 of anything and 1 of each color for a 10/10 dragon avatar with flying. When 1 or more dragons you control attack, draw that many cards, then you may put a permanent card from your hand onto the battlefield. This is an incredibly powerful ability. You get to refuel your hand in a tribal strategy that focuses on the late game, and drawing cards ends up being very important to keep the pressure on. And while this is certainly strong and definitely worthy of a commander, this isn't the ability that makes the UrDragon so dangerous. Eminence. As long as it's in the command zone around the battlefield, other dragon spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. This is why the UrDragon is the leader of this pre-constructed deck. Eminence is a keyword that gives you an advantage from the get-go. There's no activation cost for it in this deck, no downside, and you'll have it active 99% of the time, which means that the rest of the dragons in your deck, they're effectively 1 mana cheaper. Your dragon creatures are running a turn faster than they should be, helping to address one of the bigger weaknesses to dragon decks, how slow they are. Good start, to be honest. UrDragon is powerful. Lieutenants to our dragon avatar friend are Okagachi, Vengeful Kami, and Ramos Dragon Engine. Okagachi is a weird mix of offense and defense. You can hardly call a 6/6 with flying and trampled defensive, but the trigger is retaliatory. You use it to punish those who have wronged you. It's pretty neat, but probably not something I want leading my army. A good 5-color dragon legend to have, don't get me wrong, but this vaguely reminds me of a prison type card. Interesting that it's in here. As for Ramos Dragon Engine, that dragon is absurd. Besides being easy as all heck to cast, Ramos takes advantage of being 5 colors in a way rarely seen. No direct impact on the battlefield, but he gains counters quickly and turns them into dangerous amounts of mana fast. Even if you don't use his mana generating ability, a 6-mana 4/4 flyer gets real big, real quick if you get to pump him based on the colors of the spells you cast. Remember, this is a 5-color deck. Get Ramos on the battlefield, then play your commander. He's a 9/9 out of nowhere. I'd say Ramos has much more cost to be a commander than Okagachi, but that's something we'll get into in a bit. Regardless, both of these 5-color dragons are strong and will make solid support for the UrDragon, especially since he makes them both cost 1 less. 5-mana Ramos? So gross. Let's talk creatures. I've never seen a deck with as high an average converted mana cost as this deck. I suppose that's expected because it's dragons, but we're talking a measly 3 creatures at 3 mana or below. Good thing they all carry their own weight. Orator of Ojutai is basically Wall of Omens if you have a dragon card in your hand, and considering that around 25% of your deck is made up of dragons, you'll probably hit this trigger more often than not. Now personally, while the Orator is cool, Dragon Lord Servant and Dragon Speaker Shaman are the real deal. That's the power we're looking for. Again, the dragon deck has a few weaknesses, the biggest one being that it's slow as all heck. These 2 cards you really want early on. Unfortunately, there isn't much in the way of assistance at low mana costs. Herald's Horn is a new card that'll help you cast your dragons faster, and if you can afford it, Urza's Incubator is a solid 3-drop. If you have any weight into battle from Commander 2015 lying around, you have an Incubator right in there. You can also look at older artifact support cards like Dragon Arch, Belby's Portal, and Quicksilver Amulet. All of these avoid color restrictions and get your dragons out at a reasonable pace. Mirari's Wake doesn't technically reduce the cost of your dragons, but it basically does. These are your best upgrade options for getting dragons out fast for sure. Now with all that said, the rest of the creatures in the deck, basically all dragons, and interestingly, they seem to run the gambit as far as purpose is concerned. We have a fair amount of combat-enhancing dragons, like Kolaghan the Storm's Fury, Hellkite Charger, Silumgar the Drifting Death, Atarka Worldrender. When you think about dragons, this is what most players think of, right to the face, hard as heck, ready to blow someone out of the water, but there's an interesting focus in this deck on oppressive dragons, disruptive dragons. Sunscorch Region is going to gain you a lot of life over the course of the game if it doesn't die. Croesus the Purger completely destroys opponents' hands. Ojutai Soul of Winter detains something whenever a dragon attacks. Talk about freezing the board in its tracks. And newcomer Scalelord Reckoner is the definition of disruptive, immediately punishing anyone who messes with your dragons. Many would think that this deck is one-dimensional, but they would be wrong. There is more disruption in here than I expected. And even with all of that, the deck finds room to bring dragons back with Bladewing the Risen and Teneb the Harvester, in addition to killing everything over and over again with Ryusei and Deathbringer Regent. And even beyond all of that, it still has room for classic dragon production with Nubiwasi Tora, joining the likes of Broodmate Dragon and Udvara Hellkite. I must say, the quality of dragons in this deck is pretty high, but that doesn't mean there isn't room for improvement. We'll begin by upgrading into some of the most powerful commander dragons ever. Xyrillion of the Claws, the dragon tutor to end all dragon tutors. This is a great way to summon your powerful attack trigger dragons that will win you the game on the spot with haste. As for other generally good dragons, Hellkite Tyrant is a powerful alternate win condition. Scourge of the Throne is one of those dragons that ends the game real fast. For some cheaper options mana cost wise, Thunderbreak Regent and Molten Steel Dragon are both quite good and easy to cast. Since disruption is clearly a theme in this deck, you should take advantage of the disruption you have available. Dragonlord Dramoka is a wonderful addition, super oppressive, real annoying to deal with. Same with Numat the Devastator, land destruction is pretty gross. And Kaiga the Tidestar, because control magic on an effect rather than a card, that's hard to beat. If you want some off-the-beaten-path dragon suggestions, I got your back there too. Here's some of my favorites. Null Spine Dragon is hilarious. You always want to be drawing more cards, and the dragon basically lets you draw as many as you want. Don't deck yourself. Siege Dragon has made me giddy since the second it was printed. You don't much care about walls, but when they're gone, you get to Pyroclasm on every attack the opponent you're attacking. That's simply delicious. And finally, Scourge of Care Ridges, the unsung hero of my favorite dragons. Talk about annihilating opponents who don't have flying creatures? Come on. How is this not funny? A ton of players don't even know about this card. Surprise them, then wreck them beyond all reason. Moving into spells, the deck doesn't come with that many. We get our staples in Farseek, Cultivate, and Kadama's Reach, pretty much expected, but we're also treated to some control cards in Crux of Fate, Fortunate Few, and Painful Truths. All solid cards, especially the new Savage White spell that wrecks almost all non-land permanents, truly devastating. But I do believe this part of the deck lacks a bit more dragon focus, perfect for upgrading. Now you're running a 5-color deck and you need a lot of mana, so while 3 ramp spells are alright, I think you need more. I would immediately find room for Explosive Vegetation and Rampant Growth at the very least. Being color starved is just the worst, don't let it happen to you. Now beyond boring ramp spells, Fearsome Awakening is a great tribal include. Sarkhan's Triumph, can't say no to more dragon tutors. Same reason Dragonstorm is in here, it is expensive, but you get the dragon and you get to put it onto the battlefield at the same time, and it has Storm. I'd also include some reanimation spells, Patriarch's Bidding if you have the coin, that card is broken as all heck. And finally, I love the idea of running Kindred Summons and Selvala Stampede in this strategy. You can get so many dragons, all the dragons, it's like dragons galore. Now moving on to artifacts, things are pretty simple here. There's what you'd expect. Commander Sphere, Sol Ring, Lightning Greaves, Wayfarer's Bauble, expected stuff. I would add in some on-color signets, Chromatic Lantern for some on-color ramp, Swiftfoot Boots to protect your important dragons, Felwar Stone for easier mana, Coalition Relic for easier mana, Prismatic Geoscope for easier mana. You see where I'm going with this? Get more mana. Next to being slow, the biggest weakness this deck has is getting the right colors in time. We'll talk about that more in a second, but yeah, get some more color rocks in here, trust me. The enchantments in this deck are pretty neat actually, besides the new Aura Curse cycle, which is just hilarious. Dragon Tempest is perfect for this dragon deck, same with Crucible of Fire, of course, and Elemental Bond is a decent way to draw a lot of cards over the long game. Of course, Wizards rounded out the enchantment package with 3 Sieges from Fate Reforged. I don't think they're bad, but I want to replace some of them with, let's say, Temur Ascendancy, or Asceticism, or something outrageously funny like Bower Passage. Come on, tell me you remember that card. What a delicious way to destroy strategies. I'd say keep Frontier Siege and maybe Palace Siege, but get these other enchantments in there. They either keep your dragons alive, or they push you into the late game, win-win. Also, a quick note, this deck needs more instants and spot removal. It just does, it barely has any. Dragons do a lot of mass removal, which is great, but you won't always be able to count on that, especially early game, which is why you need something to bridge the gap. I'm thinking Cyclonic Rift, Terminate, Chaos Warp, Swords to Plowshares, Anguished Unmaking, anything. Just get some early game removal in there, or you may be overrun before you get a chance to do anything cool. In addition, before I forget, Artifact and Enchantment Destruction. You need more of that too. There are a few dragons that help with that, but I was thinking more along the lines of Putrefy, Mortify, Ancient Grudge maybe. Not flashy cards by any means, but artifacts and enchantments are annoying, so don't let them wreck you. Alright, if there were a black spot on this deck, it would probably be the mana base, which is atrocious. I was told it was bad before I got to test with it, but wow, it is not good at all. Luckily, the deck does come with some decent lands. You do get Command Tower, Haven of the Spirit Dragon, the new Path of Ancestry, but then you get a bunch of 3-color tap lands and a cycle of the Vivin lands, and that's supposed to be enough for you to make it work. Let me be honest with you, it is not enough. We need Evolving Wilds, Terramorphic Expanse, Temple of the False God, Cascading Cataracts, City of Brass, Mana Confluence, literally any shockland. Exotic Orchard, Reflecting Pool, I think you get my point. Way too many of these lands enter the battlefield tapped, they aren't balanced color-wise, and it makes for a real gross playthrough. First thing you should do when you open this product, get some lands. Most of them aren't too expensive either. Trust me, it'll improve your quality of life by immeasurable amounts. All in all, Draconic Domination is a pretty well-made deck for a pre-con. It isn't going to be the best deck right out of the package, but it will provide you with a lot, especially in casual commander games. The dragons you have are powerful, they do powerful things, and you have spells to make it even more disastrous for your opponents. If you enjoy playing giant creatures that can do giant things, this is certainly the deck for you. With some easy land upgrades, it is certainly worthy of its purchase price, no doubt about that. So what do you think of Draconic Domination? Have you found some upgrades for it? What do you want the deck to do? What do you want it to accomplish? I would love to hear what you have to say, so please leave your thoughts below and we'll talk about it. Also, be on the lookout for more Commander 2017 coverage as we go through each of the tribal strategies and then make a few new ones just for you. And as always, thanks for watching and we'll see you next time. This video is brought to you in part by TCGplayer.com. Draconic Domination tickle your fancy. You can pre-order it on TCG Player right now for $41. Seems everyone's freaking out about these decks, so if you don't have a local game store or big box store, and you're worried you won't be able to find copies, I got you back right here. Just click the link on the screen, helps the channel. We all win. Enjoy.